this isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European.
Now the unthinkable has happened to them. And this is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe.
On est au 21e siècle, on est dans une ville européenne et on a des tirs de missiles de croisière comme si on était en Irak ou en Afghanistan, vous imaginez?
I see European people with blue eyes and blonde hair being killed, children being killed every day with Putin's missiles.
Just to put it bluntly, these are not refugees from Syria, these are refugees from neighboring Ukraine. I mean, that, quite frankly, these are Christians, they're white, they're very similar to many people who live in Poland.
These are prosperous, middle-class people. These are not obviously refugees trying to get away from areas in the Middle East that are still in a big state of war. These are not people trying to get away from areas in North Africa.
Fuck off.
People do not care about our Tanzanianness or our Ghanaianness or our Kenyanness or our Ethiopianness. In their eyes, we are all Africans. Nobody cares about us. If you want to know how weak we are, and we are weak, look at how we are treated. Last month, the world met in New York. When African heads of states and government are speaking, the hall is empty. Nobody bothers, because they are saying nothing. Even if they are saying something, it is something that can be ignored. Compare when an African head of state and government is speaking and when the Prime Minister of Little Israel is speaking. They will listen, because we are weak and disunited.
What happened recently was just an open education for us. And if you don't learn anything and analyze what is happening, then my brother and sister, you need to wake up. Let us start with what in the media. One of the reporters said, these are European people with the blue eyes and brown hair. This is not a place, with all due respect, this is not a place like Iraq and Afghanistan. They are relatively civilized and relatively European. These are one of the statements or one of the comments by the so-called learned or TV reporters. Also, we have to be ashamed and wake up. We are seen as a subhuman. Of course, if you didn't see what is going on, then my brother and sister, you need to wake up and see the surroundings and look at your quality and improve your quality. Also, and I think it was a Prime Minister of Bulgaria, he said, these are not refugees that we used to know. These are learned refugees, and they are just white people from European. I think that was a Prime Minister of Bulgaria. So, you see, this war or conflict is a disaster. It also has a positive impact to us because it awakened us. It showed us the Western hypocrisy. See, when African immigrant or a Middle Eastern try to enter the European countries close their border. It was just recently when some of the immigrants freezed in the border of Greece. Some of them, almost I think it was 5 young men, Somali young men, about the border of Poland. It was a disaster. African immigrants will either be capsized in the sea or ocean, or they freeze in the border. They die because of hunger. And these ones, yes, they have a right, they have to do whatever they want, but what we want to know is how we are treated and how we are seen as. You saw many Africans who are being dragged out of the train just because they are black in color. Okay, my brother and sister, we call ourselves are great people. When you look at the comment of some of the social media users, the Bride of Africa, the Pearl of Africa, the heroes of Africans, nobody sees you like that. Our quality in the world. Ask yourself why you are being undermined first. Let me start from the leaders. They don't see themselves equal to the others. When they meet, okay, let me see. You see, African-Russian summit, African-European summit, almost 55 African leaders go and meet one president. Why don't they send the African Union leader? That would have been enough. That was one of the worst things they do. Okay, and an ambassador who was sent to be a mediator between the two countries can write in social media, even not for a phone, not using another channel, can write in a social media commanding what to do and telling them if they don't do that, they will face the consequences. Look at them, our brothers, our learned brothers who had an engineering in any sector of the technology. They get out of the country and go other places to look for a job in the name of there's no opportunity in these places. They invest in other parts of the country. Our politicians invest in other parts of the world. So whom are you living for Africa as if you are not Africans? And our community, young energetics, who could have been invested, are now dying on the road, or they are dying by capsizing in the sea, or freezing in the borders, at the borders. The rest, some of them, have been a victim of warlords. My brothers and sisters, no one will come outside to build our continent, to build our home. There is only one solution, that is building our village. Let us start from the village, from our home. Then it will have positive impact to our district, solve our district problem, try to solve. Then our country, then our great continent. Obviously, when you build your country, it will going to have a great impact to the continent. Because if your country become very successful, then it will be said one of the African countries became successful. Okay, let us cultivate our land. Let us produce our own food, what we eat, and for our pastoral communities. Let us produce a good meat. Let us take care of our cattle. Let us produce our own food. In that way, we are satisfied. We are sufficient of basic needs. If we produce our own food by cultivating our land, meats, and what you call milk. Also, we have Africa is surrounded by a sea or an ocean. They also have a river and lakes. Why do we import fish while we have all these waters filled of sea foods? Let us produce those things. In that, we will be overcome and food problem, food issues. First, how could we have a food issues when most of the African land is a bare land and good for cultivative? Unlike or relatively to the other part, this in Africa, there's no freezing point. There's no season that you will not do farming. Every time you can do farming activities. So let us produce what we eat so that we can overcome those disasters. Then we can solve our issue, a number by a number. Let us teach our young energetics a technology and produce our own goods. You have seen recently how and they closed the bank transactions. Most of us, the internet that we are using is not even us. When they closed the SWIFT, when they closed the internets, they closed the phones. You see, we are highly dependent. Look at the first world countries whom we were seen as they are the ones who are more powerful. They are nothing, my brothers. Look at how Russia is now. And the Chinese, they are nothing. World is now belong to Western. It has shown us how they are ruling behind the curtain. In an extent, Russia requested their money that was in the International Monetary Fund, IMF. They were unable to receive those money just because America refused. Department of Finance. So, we are way worse. If Russia and China couldn't do that, who are we now? We need to overcome those issues for us to solve our problem. My brothers and sisters, let us wake up. Let us wake up. Let us wake up. Thank you.